Hello everyone, good afternoon and welcome to today's episode of Modesty's Property Corner. This is season 1, episode number 21. I hope we're all doing well in this lovely, sunny, beautiful day. Wow, I feel like holding this session out there in the sun. I feel like I'm missing out on something, staying here indoors and talking about it. And as you can see, the sunshine, the rays of sunshine from my window. It's lovely out there, and it's a great day for everyone to be, very happy, very positive. I mean, it couldn't be any better, right? Because in this part of the world, we celebrate the sunshine like Christmas because the sunshine is a rare sight, right? So even when it's supposed to be summer, we're not even sure what we're gonna get. But today we're getting it hot. And I'm here to deliver it to you as hot as it gets. I remain your man, Ikenna Omezidike, the director of Modesty's Property Corner. And in today's session, we are going to be focusing on the elements of assessing a tenant, the essential elements of tenant assessment. So this is basically an offshoot of what we discussed last week, because last week we focused more on considering or kind of analyzing the impact or the importance of credit report on tenant assessment and looking at whether it's actually essential or necessary, or does it make any difference using credit report to assess tenants before they move into a property. And after the whole discussion and session, we were able to establish that really and truly credit reports are not really that essential in assessing a tenant's ability or affordability or suitability for the property, because not all tenants with good credits or excellent credits make good tenants, and not all tenants with bad or poor credits make bad tenants. So what does that mean? It means that there are other ways, or even better ways, of assessing tenants that could give you a better pointer than just spending your time trawling through a tenant's past financial history and basically assessing or accessing information that is considered excessive and very personal to a lot of tenants. So those are the things we're going to be looking at today. What are the essential elements of tenant assessment that could give you a good indication or could give you a good platform of assessment of tenants? So whether you're a landlord or an agent or a prospective landlord, or you own a property that you're about to be rented, this is really good for you. Or you're about to appoint an estate agent, or you want to understand, or you're a tenant, you want to understand what exactly is going on through the heads and the minds of estate agents or landlords when they're assessing me. You want to understand how the tenant-landlord or tenant-agent relationship is formed from the beginning. This is what we're about to discuss. So let's dive straight into this topic for today, the essential elements of tenant assessment. I put down a few points that will guide us in this discussion. So number one thing that's is going to be assessed whenever a tenant comes to apply to rent a property is definitely affordability. So in assessing a tenant's affordability, having established that credit report don't really give you a good indicator, or it's not really a very good indicator of how good a tenant will turn out to be affordability wise, what are the other alternatives? So number one, you are looking at the employment. The employment in this case, you're looking at the employment history of this tenant. How long have they been employed for? Where have they worked? How long have they worked there? How frequently have they been changing jobs? Where they have worked, how long have they stayed there? And where they are currently working, how long are they working there? It just gives you a sense of the frequency of the change of jobs. And you might want to ask just, politely, why have you been changing jobs very frequently? And there might be a very genuine reason. Maybe they've been moving from one city to the other or thereabout, and that might be a very good reason. But you pay attention to that, you ask the right questions because you have that information. You look at where they are working presently, you look at their current employment, and you're thinking, what about the longevity? what's the potential here that this job is going to last long enough to enable them live in this property for as long as they want to live in that property. So longevity is a pointer to the fact that this job is kind of secure. If the tenant has been in a particular job for a long time, it gives you an indication of longevity. Even though anything can happen, because 2 years ago, COVID happened, people who have been cruising basically in their jobs found it difficult to keep those jobs. And because of that, they were out of jobs. So things like that could happen. And when things like that happen, it's not the tenant's fault. But that's an exception because COVID happens once in a blue moon. So employment and the history and the present employment and longevity of the employment is one big factor to look at. Still on affordability, you're also looking at their bank statements. You look at the tenant's bank statement and you're looking out for spending patterns. You're looking out for income, that the income on the bank statement is matching what is on the pay slips. You're looking at spending patterns. You're looking at lifestyle. Are they heavily involved in gambling? Does the spending pattern suggest that they are heavily indebted, paying out a lot of credit cards and loans and debt? You might want to ask the question. But if they are earning enough to afford those credits and those loans, then that's fine. All you want to know is what proportion of their income goes towards paying off debt, and what proportion of their income will go towards paying their rent. And again, you're looking at their pay slips, and that, you're looking at their pay slips again to ascertain affordability. So pay slips in this case has to match what is on the bank statements, because what's on the bank statements is an indication of what they are earning. So once the pay slip and what's on the bank statement matches, then it gives you an indication that yes, this is the right pay slip, and because it matches what's on the bank. So looking at the pay slip, it also gives you if they've got a P60, the P60 will tell you what they earned in the previous year. Okay, and if that matches what their potential earning is, then there is kind of steadiness and stability in their income. You are also looking at their earnings. How much are they earning? And then if what they're earning compared to what the rent is, can it cover it? And if you can cover it, what percentage of their earnings will go towards the rent? Does their rent take more than 50% of their earnings? That's kind of, alarm bell should be ringing, because if their rent takes more than 50% of their earnings, it should be setting the alarm bells off, because that means they have 50% of their less than 50% of their income to live on for the whole of the month, which could impact or influence or affect their ability to live their lives. And on that basis, if you think that there is an issue with that, you might want to ask for a guarantor. You might want to say, I don't think you're earning enough to be able to afford this property. Is there anyone who can stand in for you to say, if you don't pay this rent, I am going to be able to pay? Just to offer yourself an extra security in that respect. Or on that basis, you can easily say, sorry, you cannot afford this property because the ratio of the rent to what you're earning doesn't really match up, because you'll be paying about 60 or 70% of your income on rent. What are you going to live on? Very soon you're going to run into financial problem. Okay, the other thing is looking at the deposits. Confirm that they have the right amount of deposits. If you need to get a proof of the deposit, please do, because that deposit ensures that yes, they put down this deposit, so that you don't end up wasting your time making all the assessments and then they tell you, oh, we haven't got the deposit, can you rent this property for us deposit free, which is not possible. So you make sure that they have the deposit, and if you need to get a proof of that deposit, please do get a proof of that deposit. So that's number one in tenant assessment. Number two, in this part of the world, in the UK here, the government has come up with a right to rent rule, which means estate agents and landlords now have to check the immigration statuses of people who are coming to live in their properties. A policy that I still find ridiculous, which was introduced by Theresa May when she was in the Home Office, and which was, when you talk about the toxic nature of the environment or the hostile environment that Theresa May created, this is one of them. All right, because I have no idea and I do not understand why landlords or estate agents should be turned into immigration officers, checking immigration documents before you can rent your property to people. It's ridiculous, because what it means is that if somebody does not have the right papers, Britain or the UK or England are willing to throw them out and leave them on the street because they have not got the right papers to stay in the country. It should not be so, but here we are. The rule is what it is, and we are bound to abide by the rule. So irrespective of what we think about the rule, it is the rule. So as a landlord, as an estate agent, we are checking immigration statuses, checking immigration documents, making sure that those immigration documents are valid, making sure that those immigration documents are current, and making sure that those immigration documents allows the person to be able to rent a property. And you have to check, if you can check the Home Office website to confirm that. The Home Office website gives you the opportunity to confirm somebody's immigration status if you are not sure. That's number 2. Number 3, we're looking at our references. When you are assessing a tenant, you're looking out for references. You are looking at what sort of references should you be requiring? Employment references. Where they are working, are they able to give them an employment reference to say this person is working here, and in that employment reference they should be able to state how much they are earning, which should match what's on their payslip. They should be able to state when they started working with them, which should match what is on the application form, and they should be able to give some kind of character reference to say, yes, we can vouch for this person, their attitude to work and everything. It matches the attitude, the kind of tenant you're looking for, or the kind of attitude you're looking for in that particular tenant. So that's employment reference. You're also looking out for personal references. Does the person have friends or people who know him or who have known him for a couple of years who can testify or give a personal reference about him to say, yes, we can testify of his character, and you have it on record that this person is saying that this person is worthy of taking on this property. It gives you somebody to kind of refer to in the event of dispute, just to say, hey, you vouch for this person's character, something has gone amiss, can I get more information from it, just to see if there is somebody who you can talk to in the event things go wrong. Third parties could play a crucial role in dispute resolution when it comes to tenant agent or tenant landlord relationship. You're also looking at landlord references. The landlords in whose property they've lived in before should be able to give them a reference to say, yes, they lived in this property, there were no issues, they paid their rent on time, they looked after the property very well, and I can recommend them to any landlord or to any agent to handle their property. I am very confident they will look after your property. Just things like that are things that boosts the tenant's reputation or the status of the tenant, to show that they are really good tenant, the type of tenant you are looking for. So that's for references. Now we're talking next about rental history. Where have they lived in the last 3 years? If you could get a 6-year rental history, that would be amazing. And if you could get that rental history, it could tell you the frequency of their change of property or the frequency of their change of address. Look, even banks, financial institutions, they don't like people who change addresses very frequently, because it makes it look like you have something to hide, unless your profession requires that. Maybe you are in a profession that requires you to be traveling from one place to the other. You spend 1 year in this town, the next year you are in another town, then that's understandable. But under normal circumstances, if you keep changing addresses frequently, it even affects your credit report. It even affects your credit history. So it is something that also landlords and agents need to look out for. When you're looking at rental history, look at how long they've lived in a particular address. The longer they've lived in an address, the clearer the indication that they can stay in an address for a long period. Because every landlord or most landlords are looking for tenants who will stay in their property for as long as possible. Nobody wants to get a tenant that moves out every 6 months and then the cost comes back to you. So if there's an indication that the tenant has been living in the property for maybe 5 years, 6 years or more, there's every good chance that if they like your property, they're going to stay there for as long as possible, unless they buy their own property. So you check for the frequency of turnover of addresses. It doesn't necessarily mean that because they have moved home, a lot of times in the last 2 years, that makes them a bad tenant. It might be a case of them being victims of circumstances. Maybe they have been unfortunate with the kinds of landlords they've been having in the last 2 years, which means they might have lived in 3 different properties in the last 2 years. It's very possible. Some landlords are horrible. Some homeowners are horrible. Maybe the property is so unsuitable for the person and their family that they couldn't even live there for 6 months. They had to move out. So these are things you have to put into consideration, and it all goes down to how you interact with the tenants. If you ask them the right questions, you will get the right answers. Number 5 we're going to be looking at is the suitability of the property. Okay, so you're not just looking at the suitability of the tenants, you're also looking at the suitability of the property. Now, the suitability of the property to the tenant. Would that property be overcrowded if that tenant rents it? So if you have a 2-bedroom house, for example, and you've got somebody with 4 children wanting to rent a 2-bedroom house, something must click somewhere, and you might be thinking, 4 children, 2-bedroom house, how are they going to manage? Or 5 children, 2 adults, 2-bedroom house, or 1-bedroom flat, how are they going to fit in? That's obviously overcrowded, and overcrowded properties are against the rules. Councils, when they find out, they're going to come hard on you as a landlord or as an agent because you are breaking the rules. You shouldn't be renting properties to your property should not be overcrowded. So the property has to be suitable for the tenant as well. So if you've got a tenant who's coming and they say they have 4 children and you have 1-bedroom flat to rent, some of them might be so desperate because of the budget. They might say, oh, don't worry, we're going to manage. How are you going to manage? How are you going to manage to fit 4 children plus 2 adults in a one-bedroom house? And also look out for some cheeky tenants who will come to you and say, oh, we've got 2 children. And it's just me, a single parent with 2 children. 1-bedroom flat, we can manage. We can use, with my 2 children, they are very little. We can manage 1-bedroom flat. And you might be thinking, oh, okay, let's see if we can fit up. Oh, 1-bedroom flat. I just got myself and my 1 child. We need a 1-bedroom flat, and that's it. We're okay. And then you rent the property to them. And then you come to the property in a month's time, and there are 2 adults in the property and 3 children. So you look out for cheeky things like that, and you make sure that the information you're getting matches the property profile that you're about to rent out. Okay, and you also look out for immediate change, right? In circumstances like a pregnant, if a woman is pregnant and they are coming to rent a property and the woman is married, right? Married and pregnant, and maybe they have 1 child and there's 1-bedroom flat available. So obviously that woman, when she puts to bed, that family of 3 will turn to a family of 4. So what you're looking at is a possibility of overcrowding. So if that change in circumstance like pregnancy will make that property unsuitable for them, make it clear to them. So that's a pointer that the tenant is not suitable for that property. Okay, you check that the tenant's accessibility to the property is appropriate. Let's say for old people or for somebody who is advanced in age coming to rent a property from you, and the property is say is a flat on the 4th floor, obviously accessibility and mobility is going to be an issue. So if there are no appropriate accessibility options for them, then that property is definitely unsuitable for them, because they can't get up the stairs to the 4th floor every now and then. There has to be maybe a lift or some kind of mobility facility that I can take them to whatever floor they want to take themselves to. Then that's fine. But if that property hasn't got the right one, then it's not necessary. Sorry, it's not suitable for them. So they might want to be, a property with a ground floor, maybe a bungalow, might be more suitable for people like that. If it's a disabled tenant, you have to consider accessibility as well for them. If the property is not well equipped and well suited for that particular tenant, there's no point renting the property for them. So property suitability is also very, very crucial in tenant assessment. Now, also check that the needs of the tenants are provided for with the properties, and the property has adequate facilities for those tenants, especially tenants with special needs. Tenants with special needs that need special facilities in the property, maybe the toilets or the bathroom needs to be a shower room instead of being a bathtub and all that. If the property doesn't have that facility, and the tenants who are coming have children with special needs, if the property cannot look after those kind of tenants, please do not rent the property out to them, because that property is not suitable to them. So while you are assessing the tenant, you're also assessing the property and assessing the suitability of the tenant to the property. Both things have to match for that relationship to get off on a very good note. Number 6 in the tenant's assessment is the issue of discrimination. The issue of discrimination is a very important issue in assessing tenants. Discrimination comes in different ways, and discrimination is a very big topic in this country. So people who are renting their properties have to be seen to be fair, they have to be seen to be just, they have to be seen to be equitable in their decision. Because when you discriminate against tenants, what it does is that it limits the options that you have in terms of the tenants that could occupy your property. You cannot discriminate against tenants on the basis of race or religion or sexuality or social status, right? Maybe tenants who are on benefits, and you say, no, I'm not going to rent to tenants who are on benefits. Meanwhile, if you're an estate agent and somebody gives you their property to rent, you have to establish, first of all, from the landlord, what their preferences are as per tenants' choices. Or do you want tenants who are on benefits? Should I consider them? And the government has actually outlawed discrimination on that basis, because it's been very controversial. People call it and they say they're on benefits, and straight away some people say, no, you're not suitable for the property. What makes them unsuitable for the property? On that basis, if you are seen to be discriminating against tenants based on their social status, it's against the law. They could actually make a report against you and you could be in trouble. So the idea is to give all tenants equal opportunity to be able to rent a property. And the landlord will have a say in all that. But if you're an agent, you also have to guide the landlord in doing that. And if you're a landlord, know already that it's against the law to discriminate against. You give everybody equal opportunity to hear them out. Listen to what their proposals are. How are you being paid by the government? How am I going to be getting this money? Am I going to be getting this money direct from the government, paid into my account, or am I going to be getting this money paid to you and then you pay to me? How are we going to make this relationship work and all that? You gather all the documents and all the evidence you need to show you that this is a safe thing for you to do. There is also this stigma against people who are on benefits, or that they'll mess your property up. It's not true. Not every one of them are rough. Not every one of them are unreasonable or irresponsible tenants. And that is where the discrimination line has to be drawn. You've got to assess every tenant on their own merits, not based on your personal assumption or your stereotyped mindset. So discrimination of any sort, or saying people from a particular race or gender cannot rent this property. Or I do not need male tenants. I don't need female tenants. I don't need Asian tenants. I don't need black tenants. I don't need white tenants. You do not do that. So you assess every tenant on an equal basis. Now, it is an offense to discriminate against tenants based on any of these statuses or any of these bases. Okay, so discrimination, we have said, will rob you of potentially the best tenant that you could get. Maybe the one you have discriminated against could have been the best tenant that you could have got for your property. So when we assess tenants for our landlords, we play it equal. We give everybody equal opportunity. We allow everyone to make their case. We allow everyone to have an opportunity to view the property. If we need to consult the landlord, we will tell the tenant politely, we will need to check with the landlord. And if the landlord okays this, then we'll come back to you and we can move on with this. At least you've given them an option and not just shutting them down. Some agents just shut tenants down straight away the moment they hear of a certain kind of categorization of those tenants. That's wrong. Now, the last but not the least is another controversial issue in tenant assessment: pets. Tenants with pets are very controversial. Some landlords want tenants with pets. Some landlords do not want pets in their property. And none of them are wrong. They have their reasons for not wanting. Some of them have refused to admit tenants with pets because of previous bad experiences. Some have said, well, I don't have any problem with tenants with pets as long as this and these conditions are met. So it's a very contentious issue in terms of renting a property when tenants say they've got a dog or a cat or any other kind of pet. Some landlords want to know the kind of pet that it is because they will prefer a particular kind of pet to another kind of pet. So what you need to do is that to ensure that anyone that has got pets, they are treated as fairly as other tenants. Okay? Because it's another area of discrimination when you discriminate against tenants with pets and those who haven't got pets. Right? So ensure that they have equal, that you hear them out, you know what their proposals are, you know what kind of pets they have, you know what how they plan to look after the property with the pets. You have an arrangement in place with them. And what you need to do is to have the conditions spelled out clearly to those tenants in the first place before they even move in. That these are the conditions you have to meet before you move into this property with the pets. Are you happy with those conditions or not? And they're happy with those conditions, they move in. If they're not happy with those conditions, that's everybody goes their separate ways. But then you have a standard that you want to set for them because they are not just any kind of tenant. They have pets with them. So, and those pets have impact on the property, whether it's the smell or whether it's the potential of the pets messing up the carpet or the potential of the pets scratching the walls and causing damages. There are various things that will happen, and people have different kind of pets. I have gone to properties where somebody had a snake as a pet. So when somebody said he has a pet, find out the kind of pets that they have. Some have hamsters as pets. Some have, so find out the kind of pet. I've gone to properties where and the person literally lives in his room with a snake. The snake is in a glass cage. I went into that room. I saw that snake in a glass cage. I have never been this terrified in my life. I'm telling you, right? And I was, as I left that property, it was on another, when I was doing my other kind of job that I came in contact. It's never left my mind since then. I kept on thinking, how is this guy? What if this snake, sneaks out of this? A lot of things keep going through my mind. But that's one of the realities. They could have snakes, they could have, any kind of, just find out what kind of pets they are and see if there is anything or any way you can feed them. If not, everybody agrees and go their separate ways. If you need to get a pet damage insurance, or if you need the tenant to get a pet damage insurance, the tenant can pay it, or you can add it to the rent, and it becomes part of the rent so that it can pay for whatever damages the pet causes on that property. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for being part of today. Thank you for watching and thank you for listening. And I hope this has made sense. If you've got any questions, please do not hesitate to come back to us. If you've got comments, please leave it on whatever platform you're watching this, and we'll do whatever we can to come back to you. But hey, Enjoy this sunny day, enjoy this lovely day, and I'm gonna see you guys again. I'll catch you on Monday on Facebook, our Modesty's Money Masterclass, and same time on this channel again next week Wednesday for another session on Modesty's Property Corner. Until then, goodbye, thank you, and God bless.